All right. So, guys, as always, and ladies, uh, if you guys can make sure your cameras are on for me while we're doing, just like I see everybody's face and make sure everybody's tracking what we're doing and kind of following along. Stay muted until I call upon you to do some reading or to answer a question, just so people aren't talking over each other. All right. And we're not going to need anything to really write with today. I don't think I scheduled anything for us to write with. No, most of our work will be on Google Docs or on the computer, so you won't need to actually write anything down today. And again, if you guys could do me a favor and type your name in the chat, just for attendance purposes and log, just to keep a track of who was here today. If you guys can go ahead and do that for me now, just go ahead and type your name into the chat. And that's everybody. I appreciate that. While you guys are doing that, just want to kind of go over what we normally do, and we do fitness first, followed by our talk today, which is going to be on teenagers and credit cards. I'm sure you guys all are interested in credit cards, and you might want one. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll take a little bit of break, and then we'll do an activity at the end. All right. So just to let you guys know what's coming up for us. Today we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna be talking about teenagers and credit cards and how credit cards apply to you guys and why or what the benefits may be. All right, and we're also gonna, moving into March, we're gonna talk about why you should invest. We're gonna go over some different things in terms of investments. Then we'll go into stocks, and we'll do a deep dive into funds, and then we'll talk about different investment strategies specifically, and then we'll get right into actually investing. So as soon as we talk about our different investment strategies and you guys kind of know different ways to kind of approach and put your money in different places, then we'll actually begin our investment portion of class, where we actually start an investment portfolio and start putting money, $10, $5, $20, $100, whatever we can, into different accounts for you guys, and we'll actually start playing around with the stock market, and we'll talk about different strategies with stocks and kind of how to invest your money there. Anybody have any questions before we move forward? You can unmute yourself and ask the question. I can't see the chat right now, so if you can unmute yourself and ask the question if you do have one. All right, let's move forward. So if Abdul Salam, can you read this slide for us, please?
So students will be able to enumerate the differences between debit and credit cards, identify at least 3 ways the young adult can gain access to a credit card even before they are 21, explain why a secured credit card is an excellent way to build credit, and read a credit card monthly statement.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. All right, so I want to go over some basic vocabulary with you guys real quick, and I'm sure you guys have heard some of these terms. And credit limit. Has anybody ever heard of the term credit limit before? And can you kind of explain in your own words what a credit limit is? If you have, you can unmute yourself.
I think I know what it means.
Okay.
I think it's like how much money you can spend in a given time, like a week or a month or something, on your credit card.
Very close. Very close. Very close. So yeah, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so you say how much money you can spend over a given time. Does time have anything to do with the actual credit limit? Is the question.
I don't know.
All right, we're gonna talk about that. But very good. All right, but you kind of hit the nail on the head for the most part. But a credit limit basically is the maximum amount that you can borrow on a credit card. So whatever the maximum amount you have, it doesn't matter how fast you spend it, how long it takes you to spend it. For instance, you can have a credit card with a limit of $300. That's how much you can use. That's how much you can borrow. That's how much is on that credit card. So whether you spend that in a week or a month, or it takes you a year to spend that $300, doesn't matter how long it takes you to spend it. It's just that's the amount that you have to spend. All right, $300. That's how much they've given you to borrow or in credit. All right. And then a balance is the debt you owe on a credit card. So let's say you have a credit card worth $300 and you've spent $100 on that card. So your balance is $100. That's how much you actually owe. All right. Minimum monthly payment is the smallest amount of a credit card bill that a credit card holder must pay during a billing cycle. So every month to be able to remain in good standing anyway. And every month they give you a minimum that you have to pay on the amount that you owe. So let's say you owed $100. Like I said, you borrowed $100 on that $300 credit card limit. Every month you're going to have to make some kind of payment towards that credit card, towards the amount that you owe. So if you owe 100, you may be asked to pay $15 back at the end of the month. And then at the next month, you have to pay another 15. And you have to do this minimum payment in order to be in good standing. So they don't say you're late on a payment or whatever the case may be. So you're still in good standing with that credit card and that credit account. And then this is the biggest term that we're going to talk about today for you guys, and how it pertains to you guys: authorized user. All right. Authorized user is a person who has permission to use and or carry another person's credit card, but isn't legally responsible for paying the bill. So we're going to talk about that and what that means and how that can impact you guys. All right. All right. So quick question. Let's go with Yusuf. It's on you. All right. So number one, do you think it's a good idea for high school students to have a credit card?
No.
And why do you say that?
Because they're just going to spend a bunch of money and not care.
Okay, so you think they're just gonna spend a bunch of money and not care? Okay, Mr. Mustafa, what about you? What do you think? Do you think it's a good idea for a high schooler to have a credit card?
Yes, because not all high schoolers are irresponsible. Some high schoolers need to learn how to use the credit card so they're more ready for the real world.
Absolutely, I definitely agree with you wholeheartedly there. There are definitely benefits, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But it just depends, right? I think it could be good, it could be bad, depending on the student, depending on how good they are with managing money and that kind of thing. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then number two, Umar, what about you? What about a college student or an adult? And explain why you feel this way. Do you think it's a good idea for a college student or an adult to have a credit card? Why?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing.
Okay. And can you explain why? Oh, good.
Because when you use your credit, if you use your credit card like correctly, then you could boost your credit score, and that can be helpful for some people. Nice.
So you're thinking about your actual credit score and how that can impact you in your future and down the road. So absolutely, okay. So I agree with you there. So if a college student or a young adult, it would be a good idea for them to have a credit card. So if you think if it's a good idea for a young adult or an adult to have a credit card, then why wouldn't it be for a high school student? And I guess Yusuf kind of said maybe they're not responsible, but neither are some adults and neither are some college students. So we'll kind of get into that. But thank you guys for sharing. All right, so let's talk about credit cards versus debit cards. Does anybody, in your own words, know the difference between a credit card and a debit card? Sule, I'm going to come to you today. I want to hear what your thoughts are. So what's the difference between a credit card and a debit card? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
Do you know what either of the things are in general, or have you ever heard the term before?
Yeah.
Oh, and what do you know about in either one of those things?
That you store money in them.
Okay, you store money. Okay, good. Okay, not bad. Rashida, what about you? Credit card versus debit card. Do you know the difference between the two?
No.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So it says because they're both rectangular plastic cards, most people think they're the same, but credit cards, people sometimes confuse credit cards and debit cards, but in reality, they function very differently. All right, so we're gonna watch a quick video to learn a little bit more about the difference between a debit card and a credit card. Now, as you guys are watching this video, you're gonna have to answer a couple questions. I think I've placed 2, maybe 3 questions as the video goes along. So instead of me playing it on my screen, I'm gonna let you guys play it on your screen, just so there's no lag in the audio. I wanna make sure that you guys can hear exactly what they're saying. So if you guys can give me a second here, I'm gonna go and let you guys play it on your screen. You guys play and answer the questions as you go along, and then we'll come back as a group and discuss those questions, all right? You guys can go ahead and hit play when you're ready. So the first question came along and says, what happens when you use your debit card? And I see some of you guys have answered already. You guys have pretty much gotten, all of you guys have gotten it right. All right, we're waiting a couple people to answer. You guys have gotten it right, right? The money comes directly out of your checking account. So it's your money. A debit card uses your own money, money that you have earned. It is your money to use, and a debit card uses that money. You guys can go and continue to play. All right, very good. Ooh, a lot of different answers here. Okay, so a key difference between a debit card and a credit card is, and we're choosing 2 of them that are correct. So A said you can pay interest when using a credit card, but not with the debit card. That is absolutely true. You could pay interest when using a credit card, but you don't pay interest on a debit card because again, that is your money. Whereas a credit card, it's not your money. You're borrowing money. So they're going to charge you something to use that money. That's what we call interest. They're going to charge you some kind of interest to use that money. All right. And then C is the other correct answer. It says you can build a credit score when using a credit card responsibly, but not with a debit card. A debit card, again, it's your money. So they do not report to the major credit, the 3 credit bureaus. All right. All right. One last question. All right. And you guys got those absolutely correct, right? So debit and credit cards work exactly the same. No, right? We know that they do not work the same. Again, credit cards report to your credit bureau. They charge you interest to use that money. And you can, what else? What was the third thing? You can build your credit when using a credit card, but you can't when using a debit card. And they do charge you money to borrow money. All right, very simple. Thank you guys for participating. All right. So a quick introduction to credit. All right. You'll likely have a credit, excuse me, I said credit card. You'll likely have a debit card before you get a credit card. All right. Particularly because there are age and or income restrictions on credit card access. So what I want you guys to do, there's going to be an infographic on the next slide. You guys are going to scroll to the bottom of this infographic. All right. All the way at the bottom of this kind of picture graph, you're going to see a section called How Can Young People Get Credit? How can young people get credit? All right. So go ahead and click on that, and you can enlarge it once you click on it. And we're going all the way to the bottom. We're going to go ahead and enlarge it real quick. All the way to the bottom, the last page, it says, how can young people get credit? All right. How can young people get credit? And we're going to, once you guys have clicked on that screen, give you a second, you're going to answer some basic questions on the next page here. All right. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to answer these questions, see how you guys do. All right. So there's 3 questions I'm asking you guys to answer. All right. First one, if you're trying to gain access to a credit card before you turn 21, which of the suggestions rely on the support of your parents or guardian? So they give you 4 different options here. 4 different options. And of those 4, let's take a look at which ones require your parent. All right. And of course, we're looking at the ones that require a parent. And again, there's 4 different ways to get a credit card. And I'll just go over those 4 real quick. The first one is to get a cosigner, right? And it's typically a parent or another adult, right? For those people ages 18 and 21, a parent can act as a cosigner. So you can open a credit card account if you're under 21, 18 to 21, I should say. Other ways, if you're in college, you can start paying away your student loans right away, paying off interest on an unsubsidized student loan. And I know we haven't talked about unsub versus subsidized loans, but we will get into that when we start going over college stuff. When you are in school, can also bump up your credit score. So paying off the actual interest amount that they're charging you on a loan can help bump up your score. And then the third one is to get a secured credit card. A secured credit card is different from a regular credit card. And most providers can offer a secured credit card if a cash deposit is put up as collateral in exchange. And just to talk about this real quick, a regular credit card versus a secured credit card. A regular credit card, basically, you apply for a credit card. Let's say you apply, I don't know, to Bank of America or whatever other bank you use, and you tell them you're on a credit card. They'll run your credit, see how well or how high your credit is, how well you've done in the past, and all those different things, and your credit score. And they'll offer you a credit card, and they'll say, oh, we trust you with $5,000. We trust you with $10,000. We trust you with $300 based on your credit card. And they'll give you a credit card in that amount. So this is additional money that you didn't have before. All right, to use if you need to use it. Again, it's credit. You don't use it unless you need to use it, or you pay off things slowly to build up your credit.
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
How we're supposed to solve these questions using that this thing?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. And then, so that's a regular credit card. And a secured credit card is slightly different. A secured credit card is typically for people either with really bad credit or with no credit at all. And what a secured credit card is, basically, you're giving them money. So you're saying, hey, credit company, I know you guys don't want to give me credit, but let's make a deal. I'll give you $300 if you give me a credit card worth $300. So essentially, it's your money that you're spending, but rather than using it like a debit card and it not being reported to the credit bureaus, they're basically taking your money and creating a credit card with your money and then allowing you to use it almost as if it was a regular credit card. Well, really, as if it is a regular credit card, right?
Could you just use could you have 2 cards, like a credit and debit, and just use the debit card so you have good credit?
Absolutely. So I mean, and most adults will. Like I have I have 2 credit cards, and I have 3 debit cards because I have 3 different accounts for different things. But I have 3 debit cards and 2 credit cards, and some people have way more than 2 credit cards, and that's fine too. We'll talk about that a little bit in terms of balancing how many credit cards you should have, how many you shouldn't have, that kind of thing. But I don't even really use my credit cards. I just have them. And every now and then, just because they will shut your credit card off if you don't use it, I try to use them once in a while to buy something. But then at the end of the month, I just pay it off just to keep that account going and showing that I'm using it and I'm responsible with my money. Because if you don't use a credit card, they'll just cut the credit card off eventually. It happened to my wife. I think she had like a $20,000, a credit card for $20,000, and she just stopped using it. And before you know it, they just closed the account without really telling her. They sent her a letter in the mail saying, hey, we've closed the account because she wasn't using it. So you definitely want to just make sure you're keeping up with your credit cards and actually using them periodically once in a while. All right. And then of course the last one that really applies to you guys as under 18, you're going to tag on to another credit card. All right. And what this is, you're going to ask to be added as an authorized user for your parents' credit card accounts. And we'll talk a little bit more about that and why that's important, or why it's a good thing, why it could be a bad thing, that kind of thing. So this is how you guys as teenagers can get access to a credit card and the benefits of it and the negatives of it. All right. Let's see how you guys did. All right, very good. Thank you guys. So let's take a look at some of your answers real quick and let's see how you guys did. So get a cosigner. Yep, that's the only one that requires, no, that's not the only one that requires your parent. Getting a cosigner and being added. So there's two of them that require your parents. All right. Getting a cosigner and then adding on or being added on as a user on a credit card. So those are the two. Very good. Thank you, Abdul Salam. I see that. Number two says, which of the suggestions do not rely on the support of a parent? And those are the other two, right? Paying off your student loans. And the other one was the third one that I'm missing here. Paying off your student loans. Is that the only one? And getting a secure credit card. Getting a secure credit card doesn't require your parents as well. Those two. And then the last one, the last question, what was the last question for me? Last question said, the infographic suggests making small payments on your student loans even before they're due, yet that won't automatically get you a credit card. What would be the benefit of making these early payments, right? And let's see what you guys put down. So by the time you reach you finish college, you're almost done paying off your loans. Absolutely, that's a good one. Somebody said they can teach you to save your money in order to pay off interest when they're due. Absolutely. Let's see what she says. They'll bump up your credit score. Yep, absolutely can bump up your credit score. Bump up your credit score. Good. Let's see what Mar says. Chip away at school loans. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So these are all very good answers. Thank you. All right. So again, I kind of try to explain what a secure credit card is. We're going to watch a short video on secure credit cards. I want to make sure you guys kind of understand a little bit more how a secure credit card works. So the infographic stated that secure credit cards are a good option for young adults without a credit history. But how do these cards work? Let's watch this short video and then you'll answer a couple questions as well. All right. So I'm going to let you guys play it on your device. So there's no audio lag. Again, it's 2 minutes long. Go ahead and play it as you guys are ready. All right. Very good. So I hope you guys learned a little bit more about secure credit cards. Like I said, they're there to help build your credit. So if you either have no credit or if you have bad credit, you can use secure credit card as a way to help improve your credit. But it's not that they trust you. So it's not saying, hey, we trust you with money now. It's saying, hey, you give us the money that you want to put on this credit card. And then if you manage that card well, if you manage that 300 or 1,000 or whatever, however much you put on it, right? It's up to you to put whatever you want on it. If you manage that money well, then maybe you can earn a regular credit card, and you can after you prove that you have gotten better with managing your credit. All right, so let's talk about a couple questions here. I'll give you guys 3 minutes to answer these 2 questions. The person says, explain how secure credit cards work, including details about security deposit. Make sure you guys understood and kind of heard what I just said. And give me 2 reasons why someone might use a secured credit card. I gave you both of those. And got about 2 more minutes. Again, it's 2 basic questions. Explain how secure credit cards work, and then give me 2 reasons why somebody might want to use secure credit card. All right, guys, about 1 minute left. Good. Good answer. Good. Okay. Thank you, guys. Naeem, I want to come to you. I want to see what your answers for number 1. So explain how a secure credit card works, including the details about security deposit, how payments work, and why they're less risky for you. I want to hear what you had to say. Go ahead and unmute yourself for me.
Okay. You're able to like put money into the to a bank account, and you're able to like prove to the bank that you're able to handle a certain amount of money, and it also helps your credit score go up. That's what I put.
Absolutely. So yeah, absolutely. Just like you said, you basically give the money up for the account, and then you prove to them that you can manage that money. You can spend it, but then pay it back, or you can not spend it and use it in small spurts and pay it off, that kind of thing. So just make sure you're able to balance and use that credit account that they give you based on the money that you deposit. Very good. Thank you, Naeem. And then let's get somebody to answer number 2. Mr. Mustafa, what did you put for number 2? What are the 2 reasons, or give me 1 at least, why somebody might have to open or might want to open a secure credit card? All right, let's come back to Mr. Mustafa. Umar, can you help us out?
Well, you said how the second question.
Yeah, second question. Why might somebody
Oh.
want to open a secure credit card?
If they have like a bad credit score or they just want to improve it.
Very good. If you have no credit score, if you're somebody young and you just turned 18 and you don't have any credit, you can use a secure credit card to build credit. Or if you have a really bad credit history and you're a little bit older or whatever the case may be, and you can use it to help restore and fix your credit. Thank you guys. Great job. Glad you guys understood and paid attention to that. So let's talk about this, right? So what is the minimum age to be an authorized user on a credit card? I wanted to kind of share this information with you guys just so you guys can kind of know. So the age requirement for adding authorized users varies by credit card issuers, and so gather together some of the ages for popular users. And again, an authorized user, this is you guys as teenagers being able to jump onto your parents' account and start building your credit right away based on them. They don't have to give you the card. They don't have to give you access to the card. Really, they're just adding you onto the credit card account so you can start building your credit at the age of whatever. So let's just talk about this. American Express, you have to be at least 13 years old to be added to a credit account. So your parents when you're 13 can add you to their credit account and help you build your credit while you're still in high school. And then it provides longevity in terms of your actual credit, because the length of credit history also matters. So you're building credit from the time you're 13, it'll help your credit score boost tremendously. Bank of America, there's no age requirement. So you can add a 5-year-old as an authorized user on a credit card. Again, these are just ways to build your credit. And you could also eventually have a conversation with your parents, talk about what you've learned about being an authorized user on an account and some of the benefits of it. And we're going to get into some of the benefits of it as well. Barclays, you have to be 13. Bank of America, like I told you, there's no age requirement. Capital One, there's no age requirement. Chase Bank, there's no age requirement. Citibank, there's no age requirement. Discovery, you have to be at least 15. US Bank, you have to be at least 16. And then Wells Fargo, there's no age requirement as well. So a lot of these are the most popular banks a lot of people use in terms of credit accounts, and these are the age requirements for those. And a lot of you guys already meet these age requirements. So just FYI, if you ever have a conversation with your parent about your credit and building credit at an early age, again, you don't have to have access to the credit card. They just need to add you as an authorized user to help you start building your credit now as high schoolers.
So when you first get a credit card, what's your credit score like? Does it start off at like 800 and goes down from there, or?
No, not at all. So there's a myriad of things that kind of go into that, right?
All right.
So you have to work your way up to that. It never starts off up here. It starts off somewhere in the middle, and just based on a number of factors. So the first factor that they look at is your credit history in terms of how long have you had a credit account. So if you first open up a card, your credit history is 0. So that means that you get no points in that area of how long have I had a credit account. So you can't have a perfect score because, well, you just opened an account for the first time. You need to show history of it, right? But if you opened an account when you were 13 or your parents added you in 13, the first time when you turn 18, you already have 5 years of credit history behind you. Does that make sense? So you'll start off higher than somebody would who never had credit before, right? That's one thing that plays into effect. Your history of showing that you can make payments on time, and because you just opened an account, that's 0. So you have no payment history. So that's 0. If you open an account when you were 13, it's going to show your parents' payment history, but it's going to come back to affect you as well. If they're paying on time, then it's going to show that you are paying on time because you were added as as authorized user on an account. Does that make sense?
I had like a
follow-up.
So if I were to like start now, would I have all that information, and would my credit score not be 0 if I were to join with my parents?
Yes.
Credit.
Yep. If your parents added you as an authorized user, you're saying, would you be starting at 0?
Yeah, if I were to open a new one. But if my parents already have one, so I have one and I'm with them, and then I want to open my own one,
Yeah.
credit cards.
Yeah, so you're starting with history already because you were added as your parents.
Okay.
So you already have a credit history because even though it wasn't your credit card, you were added onto your parents as authorized user. So now you already have a history of whatever the whatever that credit account's history was. So you're starting off in in a good area, as long as of course they paid their card on time. You have another question, or anybody else have any questions? Did I answer your question, Mom? I'm not sure if I actually.
Yeah, that answers it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, no problem. So yeah, and of course, just to reiterate, there is no zero in terms of credit score, right? Does anybody remember what the minimum credit score is? What's your lowest possible credit score is? You can unmute yourself. If anybody.
I think it was 300.
Very close. 350.
Like 350.
350. Yeah, very good. So that's the minimum score you can have is a 350. That's the lowest. Anybody remember what the highest is?
Around 800.
Yeah, 800.
800, very good, right? So 350 to 800. So if you are someone who has a terrible credit history, meaning you pay everything late, you never pay on time, you just open an account, you're always asking people for credit, you're applying for credit cards every month, your credit score is going to be 350, right? And if you're somebody who has a long credit history, your parents added you when you were 10 years old and they always paid their bills on time, and then now you're 25, you have 15 years of credit history. If you're 18, you have 5 years of credit history showing that you're paying bills on time and you're doing those things. So being added as an authorized user is a huge benefit to you guys. And of course, that's a big decision to make as an adult to add your kid onto your credit card. It's good and bad. I see it, in two different areas. It's good because obviously they're building their credit history. Right. If you're an adult and you're not good at making payments on time, then obviously you wouldn't want to add your child's name onto that card, because then you're gonna negatively impact their credit score. And I don't know if I've mentioned this to you guys before. So this actually happened to I call her my sister, but she's really my cousin. And her parents did something that wasn't great, right? Her parents opened a credit account in her name when she was just a child, and they destroyed her credit without her knowing. So by the time she found out sometime around the age of 20 that her credit was really bad, and she didn't understand why. And then they showed her the credit history, and she saw all of these things on there from the time she was a child, and she was like, she wrote to them saying, "There's no way, I was only this age." So she was able to get some of the things removed off her account, and then obviously after 7 years other things automatically come off, but it did affect her initially when she first started trying to build her credit. Her credit score was in the tank because of it. So if you're an adult and you're not great at making payments, you wouldn't want to add your child to it. But if you have a strong credit score and you're really good at balancing credit, then it doesn't hurt. And again, you don't have to even have access to the card, guys. You don't have to have access to the card. It's just something to help you build your credit. And in case of emergency, if they did want to give you access to the card, hey, you're going out of town for the weekend, if anything were to ever happen, here's this credit card you could use, that kind of thing. So there are some benefits to it, but it could be bad if you as an adult make a mistake and you end up affecting your child's credit. Anybody have any questions about that at all before we move on?
Yeah, I have a question.
But
so is there like a maximum amount of children that you can add?
No.
Okay. And another one is do the parents get any like bonuses for like or like helps their credit score get like higher
No.
if they add their children to
no,
it?
It doesn't help the parents in any way.
Okay.
So it actually could cost the parents. So there's, I'll tell you how it could cost the parents. So if I were to add, let's say I added you as an authorized user, they could charge me a fee up to like $75 to add you. So it could actually cost the parents sometimes, and I'm not saying it always costs to add a kid, but in certain situations, it could cost to add you as an authorized user. So it could actually cost me as an adult to add you. So, but there's no benefit to me as an adult to add you. It only helps you out, really. And I guess that's that's a parent's job, right? To try to help their child get in the best position possible. So, any other questions before we move forward? All right. All right, so we're gonna kind of talk about how to read a credit card statement. So I'm gonna give you guys an opportunity here. I'm gonna put you guys into groups. I'm gonna tell you why. The actual credit card statement that I have, I couldn't the sheet of paper that I put it on, I couldn't get it to where it was on one page. So the questions are like way down here and the statement is way up here. And I don't want you guys to have to go back and forth and back and forth. So I have one of the partners, your job is to be on the actual statement, and the other partner will be on the questions, and you guys can just tag team that way. Does that make sense? All right, before we get into the actual activity, we're gonna watch this short video about credit card statements, okay? And it's just to warn you, it's a little bit boring. But I want you guys to have an opportunity to hear about it before we actually get into it, okay? And you guys can play it at your own pace. All right, guys, thank you. So that I, I don't want to make sure. I want to make sure that I hit this point on the head. The reason that I even wanted to talk to you guys about credit cards now and being maybe authorized user on your parents' credit card, because living in America, if you plan on living in America, credit is just so important. I mean, credit is so important. I can't even begin to say. I mean, there's just so many areas in your life that will be affected by your credit score, and you know, it's very important to start early and know and pay attention to your credit score and your credit accounts and all of these things at a very early age, because it matters for everything. It matters for even going to college, right? Getting a student loan, your credit matters for that. Getting if you want to open up a business and getting a business loan, your credit matters for that. Where you can live, getting a mortgage, getting a housing loan, your credit matters. Like all of these, getting a car, your credit matters. All of these things that you're going to be affected for by in life, unless you're just a lucky person and you just want to pay everything in cash and you just have $600,000 to put on your home, and you have $30,000 to buy that car, and that's you have the cash, of course, do it that way. But for most people, you're going to be doing things on credit, and obviously you want to be smart with credit and make sure you're not just getting things that you don't need. But your credit score is going to matter, right? Especially for the big things, getting a house, getting a car. If you can't get a car, pay cash for a car. I would never recommend going to a car dealership to get a car, but for some people who are going to. But for a house, most people are not going to be able to pay for a house in cash. All right. And just a side note, and I'm just gonna throw this out there real quick. This is just my pitch to you guys real quick. So I want you guys to hear me on this, right? So in terms of getting a house, right, there are some really expensive houses and there's some really, really cheap houses. And I'll just put this out there, right? And this is what I would have done if I had known better. So I have a house now, and I own another property in Baltimore, and that property cost me $5,000 to buy. Very cheap. It's a row house. It's by Coppin State University, and I know a couple other people who own homes on that block as well. And a friend of mine is actually who got me to buy a house in that area. My friend bought the house that they lived in there for about $10,000. Another, he paid cash for it. And not only did he pay $10,000 to live in it, he then moved right in right away. While the house was still crappy, he was still young. And he actually built that house as he lived in. He renovated that house, I should as he lived in it. And that house is super nice now, right? He doesn't have a mortgage because he bought the house cash because it was so cheap. And then now he owns that house. The house is worth way more than he's put into it right now. And he could easily, do the same thing again, move into another $10,000 house, sell that house if he wanted to, rent that house out if he wanted to, and now he's making money on the house. So sometimes we do things because it looks good, and we got to avoid doing that. Sometimes you might want to buy a house in a certain area because you want other people to say, "Oh, you're successful," and things like that. But you want to really make good financial decisions. That's the biggest deal. And if I'd have known, but I would have done that, and I'd own my house and would have way more money than I have saved up right now. So that's just a side note, but don't be afraid to do what's not popular. If it's a good financial decision, is really what I want to say. So let's go ahead and move forward. I don't want to talk your heads off about certain things, but we're going to move forward. So based on what you guys just watched, I'll give you guys 4 minutes to answer these questions as well. Now, explain the importance of reading through your credit card statement regularly? That's the first question. Second question is, what happens if you only make the minimum payment on your credit card statement? And number 3, what are the possible consequences of making a late payment? We'll get right into our activity. Again, 3 questions. Why is it important to read through your credit card statement regularly? What happens if you only make the minimum payment on your credit card statement? And what are some possible consequences of making a late payment? Abdul Salam, I'm gonna come to you for question number 1 when we're done. Nafisa, I'm gonna come to you for question number 2, and Rashida, I'm gonna come to you for question number 3. So Abdul Salam, Nafisa, and Rashida. Again, you have about 3 minutes. Okay, good. Absolutely good. See some really good answers here. That's a good point too. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, about a minute 20 to finish up. All right. About 50 seconds left, guys. All right. About 10 seconds left. Very good. All right. All right. Thank you, guys. Abdul Salam, why don't you answer question number 1 for us? Question number 1 says, explain the importance of reading through your credit card statement regularly. What do you got?
I said that it's important to read your credit card statement because it will help you stay out of debt and maintain a good credit score because it provides the information like what you need to pay off and how much you've been spending, and it could also like teach you or like make you make better decisions in the future.
Absolutely. Very good. A lot of pertinent information on there. Thank you, Abdul Salam. Nafisa, number 2, what happens if you only make the minimum payment on your credit card statement?
It will take you over 10 years or even a decade to pay it off. Versus if you pay like $62, it said in the video.
Yeah. So they're talking about that specific amount that they have. Absolutely, right? It takes you much longer to pay something because of the interest added. People don't think about that, but they're adding interest every month, right? So you're not just borrowing $300 and paying off $300. You're paying back $300 plus the interest. So if you're paying something back, sometimes the amount that you're paying back only covers the interest. And I know we haven't talked about the interest versus the principal and kind of getting into that, but it only pays off the interest and you're not actually paying off anything you owe on the actual amount. So at the end of the month, they charge you $30 to borrow that $300 and your minimum payment is $30. you still owe 300. You've only paid the interest amount, right? You still owe the 300 and you paid $30, which was just the interest. So you're not actually paying off the actual amount that you owe. So you have to always pay more than the minimum to actually cover the interest and pay off some of the actual principal loan, the actual amount that you borrow. Very important to do that. Thank you, Nafisa. And then number 3. Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. You had something else?
I said you're welcome.
Oh, yeah. And then number 3, Rashida, what are some possible consequences of making a late payment?
That you'd have to pay more money than usual afterwards, and your credit score will go down.
Absolutely. So thank you. So not only are you're already paying more than you owe, right? You're already paying more than you owe because of interest, but now you're also paying late payments, penalties, and things like that. That they're charging. They just have a way to charge you even more money than they normally would. So it's ridiculous the amount of money that you can actually end up paying, especially if you're not paying things on time. You're paying late. Thank you. And it also affects your credit score. Your credit score goes lower, and that's that negates the whole purpose of having a credit card. The whole purpose is to help build your credit, not lower it. So you want to always stay on top. Sometimes you want to set up auto payments if you want to, where money is automatically paid to that credit card versus you having to remember every month. And that's where people get into mistakes sometimes because they forget to pay things off. All right, thank you guys. All right, so let's get into our independent work. So again, I'm going to put you guys into groups, into pairs, and then you guys, one person will be on the actual credit card statement, another person will be on the questions. The person who's on the questions will ask the questions, and then the person on the credit card statement will give them the answers, and then they'll type it in. All right, it's really simple agreement. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the next slide. It should take you, and let me know if this works, guys. Oh, let's see. It looks like it
says I need access.
Okay, I'm going to give everybody access. Everybody go ahead and request access if you need access.
Okay.
And this is what I want everybody to do. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, does everybody see where it says file? Can everybody?
Nothing is showing up for me.
Nothing is showing up. When you clicked on this screen, what happened?
It just went white. Nothing happened.
No worries. I'm gonna share with you guys right now. Everybody go ahead and type your email address into the chat so I can share with you guys. It is on Google Classroom for those people on Google Classroom, but everybody can type their email into the chat for me. I'll go ahead and share it with you now. That way, and I can add everybody on Google Classroom as well. If you're not on Google Classroom. The Google Classroom code, thank you, Rashid, I'll give you that. I'm going to paste the Google Classroom code into the chat for those people who know. Here is the Google Classroom code. Yeah, that's the sad part. Yeah. People, they don't think about it. They just do what they're told. So they make the minimum payment because that's what it says to do. But you don't actually realize that you're not doing anything, you know? Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point.